What's up, everybody? I'm Torianne,
I'm Leon Timbo.
And I'm Mr. J. Rome.
and we are Beauty and the Beards. So, guys, hereditary health issues. Let's talk about that. Um, a lot of things I think that we think are hereditary issues are usually just poor food choices generationally. What do you think?
I agree, but a lot of times, we're told that we are genetically predisposed.
Predisposed.
Like physically, we are just built to carry sickness.
So it don't have nothing to do with that daily pork.
Listen,
Yeah.
which is the truth in comparison.
It
It has everything,
it's a choice.
but we're told this so much that we use it as an excuse to not eat responsibly.
Yeah.
Like I could eat a salad, but I'm predisposed to diabetes.
I'm
Like
having it anyway.
it's inevitable.
My
Now
mama
there
had
are
it.
diabetes that are. There's a certain type that's not from
Jordan,
your, excessive weight or your diet. There are, I want to say, it's two types of diabetes,
There is.
and one of them is more on the hereditary side, and then the other. Even though the doctor is asking you if you have a family history of diabetes, they're not really talking about your pre-diabetes that you got because we eat horribly and
Yes.
we're overweight.
Right.
Just wanted to put that out
sugar
there.
coated bacon
The sugar.
strips
All of this,
and the salt.
from childhood, waking up in the morning, eating cinnamon toast crunch every day, 2 or 3 times a day, when in the summertime, because you're not allowed to ask nobody for no food, or you're gonna get in trouble.
Or you being watched by that auntie who put salt on everything.
High blood pressure.
So now she's
cholesterol
conditioned you.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your grandma can't see.
And is missing a leg.
And
And some got amputated. That's
Amputations.
that's
The
huge in our.
irony, the funny thing about that, like we have a movie that is literally centered around the family dynamic in soul food. And the matriarch of the family who is responsible for said soul food, the food that brings us moments of nostalgia, that brings family together, that sets the atmosphere for
Why Black
reconciliation, forgiveness,
What happens?
moving forward, showing unity and love. One of the few times we are not in discord with our families, and this lady ends up suffering from diabetic complications, gets both legs amputated, and dies in the hospital. And then for the rest of the movie, this family has to find their way back to unity through the same food that killed the matriarch of the family.
but nobody says anything.
But why
about
didn't
it.
I ever think of that watching it? It was just so normal.
We used the food that killed
I never
her
caught that.
to honor her memory
I never caught
and to
that.
heal the broken fibers of our family. Let's eat the food that killed grandmama. We made songs and we've sang them. Mama, for Mother's Day, Mama, I love you. And we equate
You're the queen of my heart.
loving her to food, to our souls, which was the title track for the soundtrack of said movie. We use that and we sing it from such a sincere, endearing, like we sing it to provoke those feelings of love for our mothers and all the things that they've done for us. It paints them as our hero, and we equate it to the food in the movie that killed grandmama.
Yo, isn't it funny that food and religion, of which we had a discussion about this, because at times the whole phrase of religion for Black people, it's like condescending. But Tori brought to my attention that 20, 30 years ago, to have religion was an ode to moral standards.
Yeah.
So, you can never win. That's number one. Number two is the idea that we'll sit somebody down in church when they have a baby out of wedlock, but there are some people on the front row, good and gluttonous,
I'll even
and
give
they have a seat every Sunday.
every Sunday and have ranking
and
position
running the church.
running.
But they can't run. But skinny 17-year-old
I don't think this is
sexy Maya from,
it's
the
all about
projects
me.
is trying to sing for the Lord, but she done got hooked up with one of them drug boys, and she got a
I won't
baby,
even say
and
the
she about to get
drummer
sat-
in the band
She about to
of
get
the
sat
church.
down. She gets sat down, but on the front row of said church,
The first lady,
the first lady cannot hug her
she can't hug herself.
because she can't hug herself. I'm just saying the standard and protection we religiously make around food. We'll say do this and you're wrong, but we've created this acceptance for food in this other way.
You know, the
That was too
last
much.
conversation we
I'm sorry,
had.
not sorry.
You know, the last conversation we had, Toy brought up a great point. Like, it is literally like one of our go-to routes to express love and or concern. When there is a funeral, we end up around food, the same food that we eat on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Weddings, more often than not, the same food that we eat at funerals, which is
Yeah.
comprised of at least 5 of the staples, and I'm going to run them by: macaroni and cheese, fried chicken, some form of rolls, collards, turnips, or green beans,
Or mustard.
or mustards.
Which are a meat because pork is
It's all up in
enthralled.
food.
Oh,
all up in food.
littered with shavings of oil.
Ah, yes. Thank
And
you.
then the sweet option that isn't quite dessert, which is either yams or sweet potatoes. You will find
yeah.
3 of the 5 I mentioned at every
Yeah.
event.
Respectable event.
You know, macaroni and cheese is littered with carbs and dairy that
yeah,
apparently
yeah.
in
Thank
the
you.
year of our Lord doesn't hold any nutritional value, like vitamin D and strong bones. That was a lie. We've got fried chicken, and you know what that does to you. Shouldn't even have to bring that up. Yams, which are always too sweet.
Always. I
They're
tried to
never
cook
sweetened
some
appropriately.
Sweet potatoes for my daughters, and I put some agave.
Come on, talk about it. Because you was trying to sneak health
You
into the field.
tried
nectar.
it.
I tried to put some
And thought it was gonna work.
because ground cinnamon still goes.
Side note: cinnamon isn't
So
sweet, you
I
guys.
tried to put some agave nectar and some ground cinnamon, and I tasted it, and I had to put some sugar
and
in
it
it.
tastes, yeah, because it tastes.
Couldn't
At
do
that
it.
point, it probably tasted like punishment.
This was me trying.
What did we do so
Trying to
bad to
be
deserve
healthy.
this?
And it's not just the abundance of sugar in said yams and or sweet potatoes. It's that accompaniment of butter grease
Oh my god,
that makes it warm and kind and loving. You know?
the kind that gave Paula Dean
Yes,
our conditions.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, take out the nutmeg,
God.
take out the cinnamon. You know what? Take out the brown. It's
Glory,
that butter
Lord.
grease that meets with that overt sweetness
Come on.
that becomes the
Ooh,
experience.
because when you eat the yams with the mac and cheese,
Come on. And it's an experience. You feel it now. We're talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
it. And if you're not feeling that feeling,
You probably don't have diabetes.
you eat raisins in your potato salad. And have never come close.
I just want to say sorry to all the vegans. This
Yo.
is so inappropriate.
Apologize.
And no
Apologize.
and
Because
sweet
I mean,
and sweet vegans know that she is apologizing by herself. I do not care how this makes you feel.
oh my god.
rude.
Yo, but Jordan sent some percentages.
Yes.
Tori, do you mind throwing them percentages?
7.4 of non-whites have a form of diabetes. 8.0 of Asian Americans. 12.1 of Hispanics. 12.7 of African Americans. But check this out. 15.1 of Native Americans.
Come on, the more cocoa you get.
Got me tired because I'm like,
Listen.
hold
I thought it
on.
was just us.
I
I'm
thought
thinking-
y'all was eating juices and berries.
Listen, the thing in front of me, I'm looking at it and I'm expecting to hear from Tori. 97.6% of African Americans
So there
suffer
y'all
from
go.
both.
We ain't that bad.
We ain't that bad.
Mercy, God.
That
I
was
think
so
we
good.
are.
And you
good.
know the term comfort food. You know, we should know it, but for those who aren't familiar, those who like to eat flavorless yogurt and run 2 miles because it's Tuesday, I'd like to share some information. Comfort food, it is a noun. It is a food that provides consolation or a feeling of well-being, typically anything with high sugar
It's right.
or carbohydrates and associated with childhood or home
Yes.
cooking, better known for us as soul food.
Yes.
It's when you can eat it and you feel safe wherever you lay your head because you will have to lay your head.
And the truth is,
Yeah.
eating these loving and endearing,
It's called
terrible
itis.
foods, it also provides you with the best sleep during the
itis.
day.
because
And
you're the closest to death.
it is definitely a symptom of a diabetic coma.
It is. You are 2 breaths.
Your blood sugar is spiking and it needs to shut down the process.
Yes.
And it just feels like a strong Sunday nap. It's your body defending itself.
Just shut it down so I can try to repair this.
So
Wait, no, stop moving.
we did not
I gotta
describe
fix
what
it.
fasting was in our last part. So can you talk about, because everybody didn't grow up the way we grew up, and everybody don't know what fasting is.
Well, I'm from Baptist church and we didn't do much of that anyhow.
Yeah, we didn't do
I
that
didn't find
until
out
I
until I was
started
going to that non-denominational church
Joker
that was
started-
just super
was cutting-
charismatic and everything. I was running around
raving them
Pentecostal
ribbons in
and
them
stuff.
denim stretchy pants.
That's when I found out about fasting.
button-up
I'm just
flower
thinking, I said, now
blouses.
what now? Because it'd be like the pastor call a fast and everything. And I'm like saying that the Lord had told them that we were supposed to fast. And I'm just like, perhaps he was talking to you.
Maybe.
Like, why are you dragging everybody down with you? Because I ain't never heard such a thing.
I'm not
for me
interested
to
in
do.
the diet God
Okay.
gave you.
I
not-
fast every night when I go to bed. And when I wake up, I have breakfast.
To break the fast.
Come on.
Huh.
And
Catch
we
up with
thank
me.
you.
Oh, revelation. So fasting, another thing, our personal health goals. I was confessional in saying I feel like I'm fat. And we all agree that there's something. I go to the doctor, and when they look at my, I think it is BMI, is it? And I am morbidly.
Oh, me too.
I am
We all are
morbidly
morbidly
obese.
obese.
Yeah, when I go get checked in, you know, the PC, the patient care technician who takes your vitals, and that's, I just
weight.
tell them like, hey, I'm morbidly obese. Don't
You know, it's like when you
just
go
cut to
to,
the
it's
chase.
like when you go to the GNC and the person selling you the pills are as big as you are.
oh man,
Goodbye.
It happens when you go to the doctor and the nurses that are helping you.
listen, and they be the ones that are snoring but be wide awake.
We don't have a lot of time.
It'll be all, baby.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I want to say I have held goals for 2020.
Talk about them. Okay.
So I have a couple of things I'm tossing around as ideas. So as I said earlier, I like the idea of water fasting, which I think that's going to be a part of my life. At least once a month, I'm going to take a few days off, and just say no to food. Okay, just a couple of days, few days, But outside of that, I'm going to do something called the OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, which is kind of like what I do. But I was taught all these years that I got to eat 5 small meals a day in order for my metabolism. And just throughout my research, I've just found that that's not exactly true. And that I can eat the one time a day that I really just eat because I'm like not the kind of person to eat all day. It's kind of tough for me. So I'll eat one time a day and I will put that in a intermittent fasting window. And I'm gonna see how that works out for me.
Which is preaching my message, because intermittent fasting is what I'm pushing in 2020. I'm not eating until noon, and I am going to eat from noon till 6. And after 6 o'clock, I am not eating at all. Or, yeah, that's my. It's done well for me in the past. I've just not kept with it, my schedule and all. But that's my goal for 2020.
And I hope that you both have fun on your journeys toward a new state of health. I'm gonna love you guys from right where I am. And it's gonna be great.
You enjoy your yams.
I'm going to enjoy taking medicine. Cause that's I see it. It's
I'm
in
so
the
done
distance.
with you. I'm so done with you.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
That's it, guys. We over.
Well, cheers to health.
Cheers to health.
Cheers to health. Cling, 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 cling.
And or the image of it.